Dear students, in this video we are going to discuss on some of the common terms that you guys are using, but you're unaware that just understanding the spellings, the prefix and the postfix of them, you will be able to understand the definitions of them, and you will be able to remember and also relate them with the other words, right? So here I am with you to show such words. I have listed the words based on the standard wise. So for 8th standard completely I have a different set, right? So here in this video we are going to discuss only for 8th standard. Okay, fine. So here there's one word called pseudopodia. What do we mean by pseudo? Pseudo is something false. Pseudo means false. So I have given you, see, when we talk about English and especially when it is medical term, here they are not coming merely from UK English. They do come from Greek, they do come from Latin, they come from Rome and so many things. That is why sometimes it will be confusing us. So in order to get out from our confusions and have the clarity in our mind on what we are working on, what I have done is I have listed down such words and there's a method to follow them. So let's follow the method. Pseudo is false and podia is feet. So when I say podia, probably you would have heard of podium also. What is podium? It is a place where usually people stand and they give the lectures, or can we take it as a stage, or where your teachers stand and they talk to you, they write on the board. It's a place a little higher than your place. It is elevated a little bit than your place. Look, podia is feet, podium is foot. So now probably I can also write down another word here which is there in which can be added to our singular and plural list, right? Podium and podia. So I am writing that as singular and plural, right? So pseudopodia, it is having false feet. What do you mean by having false feet? Meaning to say they've given a name where they'll be changing their structure. The scientists have given the name where they would have thought like, okay, when it is changing the structure, then it means that something is pseudo, something is false with them. What can be something which is false? Now imagine you have your feet. You are facing it forward, you're facing it sidewards, on to the left side, on to the right side, and you're facing it backward. As you're facing, don't you think your entire body is also changing? That is how they gave the name as feet. For such kind of animals are the cells or the organisms which keeps on changing their structure. If you ask me, then what are the examples? One can be amoeba, the other can be, yes, your own WBC which is present in your blood, which is helping you to act as a immune system. To strengthen your immune system, we'll be having WBC for that work, right? So now you would have understood pseudopodia means the animals are the organisms. Let's not talk about the animals here, the organisms which keeps on changing the shape, their structure. Basically, which are the ones which will be changing? Only the cells can change the structures, right? So the single cell animal organism is amoeba, and also WBC is a single cell, even that is also changing its structure. Next, if that's the case, for podium and podia we got, and we have something called pseudo pain. See, during the delivery time, the baby delivery time, there will be certain kind of contractions and relaxations the muscles will undergo in order to deliver the baby. Labor time we say, right? But such pains when it comes, yeah, the pregnant woman gets to know that yes, this looks to be delivery pain, but let me go to doctor. So she goes to doctor. What happens is certain times these pains, though they look to be as delivery pains, they are not the delivery pains. Such kind of pains are called pseudo pains. So false pain. Got it? Next. Okay, so you have got another word which is podium and podia. Next, let's go for plasm. Plasma or plasm, any jelly fluid which is within us, which is within the cells or the tissues is the plasma. Usually plasma refers to the colorless liquid which is in the blood, right? So when it comes to plasm, it is like any liquid we can say, or a jelly kind of a substance we can say. So for that we have many examples, cytoplasm, protoplasm. So now you would have understood. Now you will get to know plasm is something that is clear to us. It's a jelly kind of liquid. Next you have to understand on what is protoplasm and cytoplasm. Cytoplasm, where does it come? It comes below the cell membrane and touches till the nuclear membrane, right? It doesn't take in the nucleus within it. When we are defining the cytoplasm, we don't take the nucleus. So here look, it is a cell substance, any material inside the cell, which is obviously it is nothing but the jelly fluid. The cell substance or the material which is inside the cell membrane till the nucleus is called cytoplasm. Then what is protoplasm? It is of course the entire substance inside the cell, including nucleus. It means cytoplasm plus nucleus is protoplasm, the entire fluid inside the cell. Now we got plasma is fluid. So then what are we differentiating? Cyto, and we are differentiating proto. Cyto is without nucleus, proto is including nucleus. Same way. Look, you may be confused with the spellings of hemo and hemo. Hemoglobin we say, and sometimes hemoglobin. Anything starts with hemo is always blood related, right? Why are the spellings different then? You would have understood on the spelling of, color, C-O-L-O-R and C-O-L-O-U-R. They both refers to the color only, but then the spellings are different. Why it is so? Because it is depending on the American dictionary and the British dictionary. Some words are very familiar for us from British dictionary and some from American dictionary. So based on that, we'll be having the spelling differences. Here as well, hemo and hemo. So here it is American dictionary and versus UK dictionary, right? So hemoglobin or hemoglobin, it's an iron containing protein in the animal blood. So hemo is something you got to know. All you are thinking about hemoglobin is something inside the blood. What is it? It's a globin. Globin is nothing but a protein. Protein which contains the iron within it. Where? Inside the blood. Hemophilia. Now, hemo is blood. Philia, it is like clotting. So the blood clot. Now, usually in very rare cases, yes, I should say in very rare cases, blood clotting is late. But what happens to us? As soon as you cut something, the clotting goes much quicker. The blood comes out, it oozes out only for certain period of time, maybe for a minute maximum. Then we apply some turmeric and some other medicine and it will just clot off. So there is one disease where, or it's a condition where the blood clotting is quite late. Such condition is called hemophilia. So here again philia. Singular, plural. Hemorrhages, the ruptures in the nerves. See, hemorrhages, it is nothing but the simply loss of the blood or the rupture of the nerves or excess bleeding. That's called hemorrhage. And what are those? Hemorrhoids. Hemorrhage, again hemorrhoids, it is to do with the blood. Hemorrhoids are just nothing but the swollen nerves in the lower rectum. These are nothing but the piles. Okay. So what we understood, the prefix hemo, and I have given quite 4 examples to understand what are the different words that we use for blood, and they are there in your textbooks. Next, anti. Anti, it is not auntie, A-U-N-T-I. No, it is A-N-T-I, anti. It's something against, something opposite. Okay, we have antibodies, we have antigens, antibiotics, anti-gravitational, anti-allergic, antitoxins. They're all antibodies. They are the antibiotics we say, they are the ones which starts fighting against the viruses and the bacteria when we fall sick. And the antigens, using antigens. Anti-gravitational, we are standing here, sitting here because of gravitational force. But there are some muscles with us who works against the gravity. They are called anti-gravitational forces or anti-gravity muscles, like that. Anti, again it is against. Anti-allergic, something which works opposite to the allergy. Opposing the allergies, they are called anti-allergic medicines. Next we talk on antitoxins. Let me write them here. Toxins, we know something not good for the body. It is a toxin, visha anta healthy. So what are antitoxins? Then there are the medicines, or there are some items which are working against the toxins in our body. Medicines are substances which works against the toxins in our in animals. Yeah, are such kind of toxins only present with us? No. Are the toxins produced in our body alone? No. They are produced even in the animals. You know, horse has more antitoxins in it, which so that it can withstand any of the toxins which goes and attacks, right? Next, let's discuss on mono and bi. Mono is single, which you all know. Di or bi is two. Okay, monocotyledons and dicotyledons. So monocotyledons and dicotyledons. So how do we remember? This mono is single and di is bi. Yeah, that is done. But cotyledons. What are these cotyledons? Have you seen maize? Yes, the eating maize. No, we say it as sweet corn, right? So in that sweet corn, if you split, it will not be split into two pieces, whereas now compare the green piece that you have seen that, right? You split it, it will split into two pieces. And the tur dal seeds, it will, you boil it and split it, it will split into two pieces. And when it is forming, when it is germinating, the seed is getting germinated into a sapling, the plant. It is, you can see two cotyledons, right? I just made one memory technique. It is all about your own imagination. There's nothing that I can do with this statement. What I have done is, as I'm hearing this statement, as I framed the statement, I started imagining myself, right? Imagine the cat has put all the mazes on the cot and now you are sleeping on the cot. Now, can you imagine the sweet corns? Of course, not the ones probably which is boiled. You can imagine the raw ones only. And the cat in your house, it took the sweet corn from the fridge and it has put everything, all the sweet corns on the cot, and imagine you are making those sweet corns as your pillow and you are sleeping. Why did I go for this memory technique? Because one thing, if you just understand maize as monocotyledon, or the example for monocotyledon as maize, you will be able to remember it. But now my question comes is, how do I remember this term monocotyledon? That's the thing. So by now you know what is mono. Mono is single. Cotyledons is, for that I've used a memory technique where your cat has taken the mazes from the fridge and it has kept on your bed and you are sleeping on the bed, and you've used those mazes as your pillow, right? Now, something similarly we need to have for dicotyledons. Imagine that the cat has put all the peas, the moong seeds, the groundnut seeds on the cot, and you were sleeping and you slipped away from the cot. How silly it is, isn't it? Making yourself silly and making yourself with laughter makes the brain to be more sharper and it activates the brain. That's the reason memory techniques are very important. Di is two, cotyledons, right? So cot is, for that I have used cot, you can imagine, or you can imagine your cat putting all the pulses like moong dal seeds and groundnut seeds, peas and all, which are actually dicotyledons, and you made it to run away and you yourself slipped down from the cot, right? So You got to know mono as 1 and bi or di as 2 and monomial expressions and binomial expressions. So, it comes in algebra. Maybe you are very much aware. It comes specifically, we speak a lot about it from 8th standard onwards. So, expressions which are having single term or mono. Meals, the expressions 2y square, 7xy, x to the power 5 or let us say minus 9 plus 10. All these are monomial expressions. Go do the reverse of it. Use two terms in one expression, that is nothing but binomial expressions. 5x plus x cube, 10xy plus x to the power 5, 2xy minus 10, so on. Unicycle and bicycle. See, we are all aware with bicycle. So, what I thought is, why don't I just make it as unicycle? Yeah, there are some cycles which run by single wheel. We have seen that. So, that is unicycle, and opposite to that is bicycle, where we are using two cycles or the two circular rings, right? And we have another term which is most commonly used bi-weekly. So, which comes 2 weeks once. It occurs every 2 weeks once. Bi-monthly, like this. Next, let's go for micro. Micro is always small. We know this, I guess, from our smaller standards, right? Micro, milli and so on, right? So, micro is very small. Microplastics, nowadays it is very famous because of the overusage of the plastics. What is happening? The microplastics, where we can't extract them, we can't segregate, we can't separate out such kind of very small kind of powdered plastic. They are present even in the blood, they are present in fish, they are present in animals, which is very, very, very dangerous. Please avoid plastics. So, for that we call this as microplastics. The same way, the micro termed as small and plastic is plastic. Micropile, again micro is small, pile is passage. So, having a very small passage is micropile. So, this is a general term. Wherever it comes in your biology, in your chemistry, you can use this. You can start connecting and contacting. Microorganisms. So, obviously, the organisms having the animals having the organs, the living being having the organs which are very small are called the microorganisms. Microstructures, any small structure is called microstructure. Now, what we understood here, we started working with the prefix micro and then we started relating its next word, right? Okay. So, having said, we worked on mono and bi, and we worked on micro, then we worked on antibiotics, we worked on hemo, then we worked on pseudopodias and so on. Let's come down. Endo. Endo is inner, exo is outer. Opposite to endo is exo. For anything for endo, it goes inside, ecto is outside. Alright. So, now let us discuss endoplasm. So, already in our previous examples when we talked on plasma, cytoplasm, protoplasm, where we discussed the plasm is a jelly-like material, right? So, here same way, endo is inner. The inner jelly-like material are inside the dense part of cells. Cytoplasm is called endoplasm, and same way ectoplasm, something outside, granulated layer outside the cytoplasm is called ectoplasm, right? So, endo, the prefix is endo and ecto. Next, endocrine glands, that comes very specifically starting from 8th standard. Endo is of course inside, which produces inside. Crine is, it has a different meaning for crine. It is to lift. Crine glands, they secrete hormones without the ducts. And then opposite to that is exocrine glands. Exo is outside, they secrete the hormones with the ducts. What are those? Now comes a question, what is the duct then? You would have seen AC duct, that is a passage of the AC water flow. Now, if that is the case, what is this duct? Again, it is a kind of a passage or a canal or a very small place. So, something which is having without ducts. Then, I will release an hormone, then it does not have one single nerve to pass that. Then, where it has to go? Where it will go? It will go and directly connect with the blood. Yes, it is the case. What happened to our insulin hormone? It has connected, it has gone inside, mixed inside the blood. What happened to our thyroid hormone? Again, the same thing. And then, opposite to that is How about our sweat glands? We have separate glands. We have sebaceous glands, oil glands. We have enzymes. We have mucus glands. We have salivary glands, sebum glands. They have their own passages and they know where exactly to be present. Next, an endothermic reaction and exothermic. Endo is what? Inside. Thermic is thermal or heat. So, taking the heat inside and being present cool outside. What can I say for that? Melting. How melting happens? See, when it is melting out, let's say melting over ice. Let's not talk about, ice melting. So, here, when the ice is getting melted, it is not showing the hotness. It is, though it is taking the heat, it is not showing the heat outside. Next, evaporation. It is burning, and when it is getting evaporated, it is not throwing heat. Cooking. Gas molecules. While cooking, while the rice is cooked, the hotness, the heat of the flame is taken inside, but the rice is it is getting converted and it's going for a chemical reaction. Exothermic. Throwing out the heat, fire, burning something. Then nuclear fission, explosions, rusting of iron. These are all the exothermic processes where they release the heat out to the outside world. Next, go for hypo and hyper. So, they are quite same. Hypo is in there, below or less. Hyper is more or above normal. Usually, hyper comes with some measurements. Hyperactive. So, a person will be active to this much and this person will be active over. Hypertension. Hyperthyroidism. So, thyroid secretion has to be this much, but then there is a higher secretion, that's called hyperthyroidism. Hypertension, BP, 180/20 is a normal BP. So, if you have something above that, we call it as hypertension. So, similarly, hypogl. Gl is earth. So, hypogl is something which grows below. So, the cotyledons, if they are there below the earth, they are called hypo, and they are there above the earth, they are hypergl. Hypotension and hypertension, as I explained, hypo is lesser than the normal, tension is the blood pressure. So, this is called the low BP and hypertension is called the high BP, and the same way called hyperthyroidism and hypothyroidism. As I said, hypoactive and hyperactive. Hypo is being very less active, hyper is being more active. Prokaryotes and eukaryotes. So, here you have to understand on one term, karyons means nucleus. So, here we have prokaryotes and here down we have eukaryotes. Karyons means nucleus. So, pro is primitive, which is very primary, where it does not have a nuclear material in it. There is no clear membrane, only nucleus present. Nucleus is present, there is no nuclear membrane. Such kind of cells are prokaryote cells, whereas having the clear nucleus membrane is eukaryote. The true membrane is eukaryotic membrane, right? So, like this. So, we understood on karyons now. Going above, we touched upon hypo and hyper, right? So, now we will be working on prokaryotes are also done. What more is left out? Yes, for 8th standard, this much is sufficient. Please go ahead, practice them, put them in your mind map books and put them in your science books, right? So, I will be checking on this and we will be discussing them on daily basis, right? Thank you.